The issue of crime has been a very important subject to talk about, especially on the African continent. In the last few years, crime has increased. The rate of crime has really gone up amongst various countries across the continent. Today, we are going to look at what countries record the highest crime rates and what can be done, or what is really the cause of these high crime rates and how they are being kept. I have Samuel Kese with me here. We have a list of 5 countries which we are going to look at. You can agree or disagree with us. Let us know in the comment section. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe, like, and share this content if you find it valuable. Samuel Kese, we have a lot of countries that have recorded high crime rates across the African continent. And today we are going to look at our top 5. I want to start with you. Which country are you placing on number 5 amongst all the African countries? Of course, taking into consideration the World Peace Index and all the various metrics that are involved. Which country are you placing on number 5?
Well, thank you, Josh. That's a difficult, that's a difficult decision to take. But I think I'll place Somalia. I'll
Okay.
place Somalia on
Why
number
Somalia?
5. You see, this is a country that has really suffered over a long, period of time. It has suffered political turmoil,
Mm,
instability, and you see, this is evidence. Okay, everybody knows
mm,
it. You see how
wow.
the country has been brought to zero over a long period of time. When you mention of Somalia, it's in the minds of every African that that's the country that has suffered a lot. Yes.
Okay.
So I place Somalia at fifth because you see, Somalia has a population of about 17 million. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and consider through political instability, terrorism. The presence of Al Qaeda, Al Shabaab,
Mm-hmm.
ISIS over a long period of time
Mm-hmm.
has displaced over 20% of the population. It tells you that
Wow.
more than 20% of the population is refugee somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And if you check the country, the economic, situation of the country now, there's no doubt. Okay, people are suffering, and you see
Mm,
sometimes some of these pictures that these foreigners, Western guys, they put on their media to show that Africa is poor and stuff. Some of these pictures, they come from the very vulnerable situation of the Somalian people, especially the time of
mm-hmm.
political turmoil, where we had, a lot of people dying, a lot of people being displaced, not having food to eat. These images of kids, okay,
Mm-hmm.
almost put to death through hunger and stuff. So I place Somalia
Okay.
uh, at the fifth position. Yes, simply because
Okay.
of the presence of these extremist groups.
So yes, number 5 on the list, Somalia. Samuel can say I put DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, as number 4 on this list. Number 4 on this list. And they have related reasons to Somalia as well, especially after the Rwanda genocide in 1994. The DRC has really suffered a lot of instability since then. It's been almost 30 years of constant instability in the country. About 4.5 to 5 million people have been displaced. We are talking of a country that has a population of 95 million people, so almost 100 million, and more than 5% of the population has been displaced. About 1 million of them also been have refugee status in other countries. So it is not looking so good for DRC, for a country that is rich in resources, that has got a lot of human resource as well. If you look at the subject of police corruption and oppression amongst the people, it is really bad, really sad. And so for me, I'm putting DRC number 4 on the list as well because of the high rate of police corruption and lack of justice in so many sense. And of course, the fact that the wars have still had these permanent effects on displacing the people of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Which country would you put on number 3 on this list, Samuel?
Well, I think I'll go for South Sudan. I think I'll put
South
South
Sudan.
Sudan.
That's
Uh,
interesting.
yes, South Sudan. South Sudan. I think that because you see, because of the internal conflict, it's a country that has really over the years suffered internal conflict. We see what has been happening in South Sudan. 35% of the population has been displaced. You see, through internal conflict. It's a very interesting country, but of course, whenever you are there, you have to be very careful. So I put South Sudan at the third position. Don't forget, in fact, this whole thing has taken, a toll. That let me see, the toll of violence, okay, relative to their GDP is 41%. It means that these guys
Wow.
they are spending a lot, yes, in terms of conflict resolutions, and it's a
Mhm.
country that has no peace, okay, that has no tranquility. To really develop the country, there's always, internal conflict, and always putting lives, okay, at risk. So I believe that I will put South Sudan um, at the third position for the fact that 35% of the population has been displaced through internal conflict, and how, the amount they spend on solving conflict, it's really not something to write home about. So I'll put South Sudan. I don't want to talk a lot, because if not, I will be talking bad, about the country. That is not the case here. But of course, it is something that we should also let people to know that it's a country that needs to really sit down, okay, and solve the matters
Mm.
of that internal conflict. This one, it doesn't mean that if I get a chance to visit South Sudan, I wouldn't go. I will go. I'll go. Of course, I'll go. Yes, but of course, we just have to tell the truth, okay. But I think
Uh-huh.
that
Uh-huh.
it's a country that is picking up, okay, slowly, and then I believe that we will see a better South Sudan tomorrow.
All right. So South Sudan number 3 on the list. I think I remember there was a video of Wodemaya that I watched when he went to South Sudan, and he had a
Yeah,
lot of difficulty even recording in certain places. The security was on a
yeah,
whole different level. The paranoia was on a whole different level. It's like you always have to be careful, almost in some of the places that you step in. So yeah, South
exactly.
Sudan, and also being the youngest country probably on the planet because they had their independence in 2011. So
Yeah,
very young. And I think they're going through a lot of challenges, now. So yeah, South Sudan on number 3. I think that's a good one. That's a good one. Um, Before we go to number 2 and number 1 on the list, now we want our viewers to know that these two countries are number 1 and number 2, could easily take the position of one another. One could be number 2 today, the next morning the other is number 1. One could be number 1 today, the next morning is number 2. So it depends on what you think these countries, or which position you think these countries should be. We believe that they should be in the order that we are going to present them to you. But if you disagree with us with reason, please let us know in the comment section. Let us know what you think, which country you think should have been number 1 and which should be number 2, or do you think that they even deserve to be number 1 and number 2, or they should be lower on the list and other countries should be on the list? If you disagree with our list, let us see your list as well in the comment section. Now, coming up as number 2, Samuel can say, I am putting the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Oh,
The Federal
Charlie.
Republic of Nigeria. I am putting the Federal Republic
Uh,
of Nigeria on number 2. On number
oh,
2. And the reason for me putting the Federal Republic of Nigeria on number 2 on this list, I know it's a tough call. Some people will say that no, Nigeria should be number 1. But I am saying I'm putting Nigeria number 2. And here are my reasons. Now, my reason is that Nigeria number 2, there's a very huge issue of kidnapping that has been going on in Nigeria for the longest time. For the longest time, people have been involved in kidnapping. People have been kidnapped. We can see it so many times. I remember back in the day when they had the Bring Back Our Girls campaign, where the extremist group Boko Haram kidnapped 200 schoolgirls. 200 schoolgirls. So the issue of kidnapping has been very perpetual in the Nigerian society, and I think it's something that has been really hard for any government at all, any Nigerian government at all, to deal with this issue of kidnapping. So I'm putting Nigeria on number 2 on that. Another reason, cybercrime, internet fraud. I think when you mention internet fraud, the first country that comes into your mind is Nigeria. I mean, we saw the issue of
Well,
Hush Puppy,
well, bro,
who was arrested
for
in
me, so
Dubai.
far as they are not frauding, so far as they are not frauding the Africans, I mean,
No, I mean, crime is crime. Crime is crime. I am doing this. I am doing this
uh,
based on crime committed. Crime is
all
crime.
right.
So, so yes, on the issue of cybercrime, I think Nigeria is high on the list on the issue of cybercrime. Not only in Nigeria, but even in other countries. We have countries like Ghana. We have countries like South Africa complaining. Recently we made a video about South Africans complaining about wanting to kick out foreigners, and these foreigners are African foreigners, directly, mainly Nigerian foreigners out of their countries. So the crime rates of Nigerians, I think, is very high on the issue of cybercrime as well. So yes, for me, kidnapping, cybercrime, these are the main issues that are really, really affecting Nigeria. And besides that, there is one more thing that I want to talk about. There is this incident of mysterious killings that really go on in Nigeria. Mysterious killings that really go on in Nigeria. Recently, we heard the news of an artist, Mobad, who died mysteriously, and there were protests that were going on the streets. And these protests reminded us of the NSAS protests, where the police were also killing people, killing young people mysteriously. They were killing them. We saw people that received open gun, that guns were opened on them on the streets for protesting, flags that were being dipped in blood. And so, for me, I think putting all these factors together, I put Nigeria on number two. I put Nigeria on number two because I think the country on number one has got a
Oh,
much rather
Nigeria.
serious issue than probably Nigeria. Maybe slightly, but I think it's a very tight call. But I put Nigeria on number two, Samuel.
For the
Okay.
number one position, I think I'll put South Africa.
South
Yes,
Africa?
I'll put South Africa at. Of
Why
course, I
South
know that
Africa
we have
as number
we have a
one?
lot of Africans who want to go to South Africa and I mean have their lives over there. But I will put South Africa at the first position. Why? Because you see, in fact, if you take the statistics, okay, world statistics, I mean the Global Peace Index, you realize
Mhm.
that South Africa is third on the list. So it is
Globally.
the third. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So yes, I mean South Africa is third. And in fact, you see, percentage-wise, if you take I mean, let's say, uh, if you take 100,000 South Africans and you ask,
Mhm.
I mean, 100,000 South Africans, 76 out of the South African, this 100,000 South Africans have committed homicide. So
Wow.
that should tell you that yeah, that is a serious thing. Yes, that's a serious thing. And I was reading an article. South
South
Africa, I forgot
African
it.
Medical
Medical
Research
Research,
Council.
yes, Council. Thank you, thank you.
Uh-huh.
They did the survey, and out of the survey, you realize that one in four South African men admitted of committing rape. Yes.
Wow.
So if you take that one, okay, the sexual assault, okay,
Uh-huh.
and then of course you come to take the fact that
The
homicide is very
homicides.
rampant, yes, in South Africa, in the sense that 100,000 South Africans, if you take 100,000 South Africans, 76 or 77 who admit, okay, or have committed homicide, that's a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
And recently we also saw how sometimes violence can be accepted, okay, can be accepted,
Mm-hmm.
the acceptance of violence. Because why am I saying this? Because you see, we have a movement called the Dudula.
Mm-hmm.
The Dudula, to me, in my opinion, it's nothing but a very violent group, okay, seeking to really drive away all foreigners in South Africa.
Mm.
Okay, it's a very serious group. So I believe that if you put all these things together, sexual assault, raping, homicide, and you see the fact that they are on the third position worldwide, that
Mm.
should tell you that South Africa is not all that safe. Okay, and I put South Africa first because, man, I mean, we are talking about people suffering within their country. Of course, in the case
Mm.
of South Sudan, Somalia, we always say that, I mean, their people are being displaced. It means that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they can be refugees in other countries. Okay, but in
Mm-hmm.
this case, you are in your own country and you are being raped, and it's frequent. It's, I mean, it's serious. I mean,
Yeah,
one
yeah. I
in
mean
four
the
South African men. 1 in 4 South African men are admitted committing rape. I mean, that's serious.
Yeah.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah.
And I mean, 100,000 South African men and 77 or 76 participating in homicide. I mean, that is also serious. So
Yeah.
I put South Africa at the first position. Yes, and of course, I
Okay.
believe that a lot of people will agree because of the economic issues in South Africa. Okay, we have inequalities, we have social exclusions, we have poverty,
Mm-hmm.
unemployment, a lot of stuff over there. I'm not saying that it's only South Africa that has all these things. No, but in the case of South Africa, we have seen it. Yes, and also that kind of banter between the white and the black. Yes, is something that we
Mm.
cannot, I mean, underestimate. So yes, I put South Africa at, because for me, rape is something that I would never condone. That is
Mm.
why I am putting South Africa at the first position.
All right. All right. So Samuel Kise puts South Africa as number one. And I think based on what you have presented, it's quite difficult to challenge this number one spot. And want our
Mm.
viewers to understand that we are not here to degrade any African country, but we want to present the facts. We need to have these conversations about some of these difficult issues out there so that people will get to know about them. You advise yourself, you learn, you know how to keep yourself whenever you travel to any different place, any new place. So when you're going somewhere, you take the necessary precaution that you have to take. I did a quick research on what you did, and I realized that on the World Peace Index, South Africa is only losing to countries like Venezuela, which is essentially a failed state, and
Yeah,
Papua New Guinea, which has a crime rate index of over 80.75 or something like that. And South Africa is ahead of countries like Afghanistan.
yeah.
Ahead of countries like Afghanistan. So that's very
That should
huge.
tell you how serious the situation is. Yes,
Yes,
Afghanistan.
yes, that is a very huge situation. So I hope that we are able to advise ourselves and then find solutions to some of these things. What are some of the things you think? We want to know your opinion about this. What are some of the things you think that we can do to reduce the rates of crime that continues to increase across the continent and in some of these countries? Because we really want to have a welcoming continent, we want to have welcoming countries. We want to have countries that are attractive for tourists, that are attractive for its citizens, that citizens are able to stay in and prosper and to have good lives. So we don't want the situation where there's rampant crimes all over the place. It's really going to affect us as a continent, as countries. So we really want to have solutions to some of these situations that are going on so that we can enjoy the prosperous lives that our forefathers who toiled for our independence and for our freedom for us to be able to have on this beautiful piece of land we call our home in Africa.
Thank you.
All right, call to action. Let us stay alert and let us provide the security that we want for ourselves, for our families, for our loved ones, for the people around us, for foreigners as well that visit our lands, and also to be able to enjoy the prosperity of a peaceful world where we can collaborate and work together and create meaningful, convenient environments where we can all thrive in success. So thank you very much. If you enjoyed this particular video, please like, share, subscribe, let other people know about it. Let us know your opinion on this particular topic, and let us know your idea on what other topics you want us to discuss with respect to the African continent. What other pertinent issues you want us to talk about here? Thank you very much. This is Studio 6, and see you in the next video.